What the hell is Saw Sports or whatever that last call was talking about? What the hell is that?
Guys are from Free Love, man.
What's the motherfucking deal, Sauce Nation? Welcome to Sauce Sports. If you're not familiar with Sauce Sports is a Houston Homer network. It means we're talking all sports, but only Houston. But this is primarily the Texans channel. And I got a special guest with me today, Texans Roughnecks Superfan. It's been a while. I've been trying to make it happen, but we finally had a chance to do it. How you doing? How you doing today, Texans Roughnecks Superfan?
I am doing great. Been honored to be with you today.
Well, I'm glad to have you here, man. Like I said, I know you're on the road, and we were just talking about that right before we started recording. And so, definitely, you said something. You had a special milestone that you wanted to celebrate. Would you like to share that with the people?
Yes, I would. As of yesterday, it was about 1 o'clock yesterday. I finally hit my 100 subs. So I want to thank everybody that watches Sauce Sports and subscribes to me because of Sauce Sports. I really appreciate all the subscriptions and all the love.
Already. And if you have not subscribed, well, there's no better time than right now in the present. The link will be right under the video in the description to the Texans Superfan channel, so there's no excuse not to find it. But a couple of things going on, so let's just dive right into it, man. Last night was the first round of the draft. Texans didn't have a pick. A lot of rumors about them floating around that they're going to move back into the draft. Move up in the draft, and this, that, and the third. I don't know. Being overly aggressive, not necessarily the Texans' way. But there's a lot of good names, surprisingly, that fell out of the first round, and the Texans have a early pick in the second round. Is there a particular player, position that you're looking at that you would love for the Texans to pick up? Do you have a main guy that's still on the board that you would be very interested in the Texans acquiring?
I actually have two. One's going to come as a bit of shock, and the second one you probably would figure out would say this. But the first one that's not a shock that I would say this is that one I was very surprised about with this draft for the first round, because he is a first-round talent all day long. A joker can make unbelievable catches, and that is the wide receiver from Clemson, T. Higgins. The second guy that I wanted to talk about is what I know there's a lot better receivers and everything, but the comparison to Nuke Hopkins, and that is Denzel Mims. I'm very surprised that at least at even the late round in the first round that he didn't go.
These are two very interesting picks, and I'm glad you named these two guys, because one, you compared them to Hopkins, and you said T. Higgins, who's a Clemson guy, and we know Hopkins was a Clemson guy. So there's that kind of aura around Hopkins is still there, which I find very interesting. Let's talk about T. Higgins for just a second. And my thing I'm going to kind of segue into is the Clemson thing. Do you think that Billy O, as far as what you know and what you've seen from this guy, would replace a Clemson product with another one? Maybe a guy that Deshaun could also build some rapport with, having that school in common, kind of like he did with Hopkins, even though they didn't play together?
Honestly, if you want my honest opinion, no, I don't think he would do that. And here's the reason. And we might talk about this a little bit later, but here's the biggest reason why. If you notice in the Texans, almost every single, except for Watson and Carlos Watkins, every single Clemson player has gone from the team. And that is something that I think it was Rick Smith and Cal McNair's dad wanted for the team, that they really like the Clemson players. They really like Deshaun Watson and everything. And having that there's only two players left, I really think that Billy O has a vendetta against Clemson players. And the reason I think this is because, one, that he's gotten rid of all these players. Two, is that the time that Deshaun Watson did so well with his starting rookie season was when he was playing Dabo Swinney's playbook in the Texans uniform. And because Billy O has a mind of his own, and he's like, oh, well, I want to take credit for all that. So if he's running Dabo's playbook, I don't like that, because he's not running my offense, the offense the way I want to run it. So, and me personally, I believe it's going on record as well as saying that Billy O'Brien did not want Deshaun Watson as quarterback for the Texans. So that leads me to believe that he does not want any form of Clemson player or a lookalike Clemson player to grace this team.
I can definitely believe that, because definitely, like I said, as far as I recall, every Clemson player that's kind of come through has been serviceable at the worst and been very talented, if not one of the best in the league almost. You can talk about Reader, we can talk about where Watson is in his standing. You can have different people argue, different things with Watson. Again, it's personal preference, whatever. But Reader was undeniably one of the best tackles in the fucking league, and you just kind of let him walk for nothing. You get nothing for it. You really don't make an attempt to re-sign the guy. It'll be interesting to see what happens with Watkins, but it's just it almost feels like there's a cleansing going on with the Texans, and we're going to get rid of all these. We're going to get rid of all the old Kubiak guys. We're going to get rid of the Clemson players. It feels like, and I'm glad you mentioned that. That McNair, because he's from that area. That he likes the Clemson players. I think he some of the Clowney was with a Gamecock and some of those guys like that. He likes those players, and then you're trying to see all these guys kind of disappear. So I don't know if this is Billy O trying to put his mark on the team, make sure everything is the way that he wants. I don't know. I don't know if he's going in the right direction, but it is kind of what it is, because we used to call this Clemson Pro or little nicknames like that. There were so many Clemson players on the Texans that were contributing to the Texans. So I kind of want to take a look, though, at a guy, like I said, you compared to Hopkins, and that is Mims. And I was actually pretty surprised that Mims dropped that far also. What is it about Mims, in your personal opinion, that kind of reminds you the most about DeAndre Hopkins?
Well, the biggest thing is he is what I consider a go up and get it. And what I mean by that is he has the ability, like Nuke did, is about going up and catching those 50-50 balls. He has the ability to read the defense to get himself open enough to where Watson could throw the ball to him. I've seen enough film on him. I've seen enough people talk about him that I know that he would be a very good fit. It would be Nuke likeness with the Texans and stuff. I feel like he's a better, gifted athlete than some of the other receivers. And if you don't want to go with a Clemson player, get someone like Denzel Mims.
Nothing wrong with that. Now, and I think that's kind of a thing that we're missing now, because, I'm skeptical. But again, this is the Texans. You don't know what the hell they're thinking. Billy O preaches, best talent available. That's kind of who you go with. But I'm looking at it, after Hopkins was removed, and then you go and you got Cobb and you got Cooks, and you can feel however you want to. But I feel like we're missing a guy like that. Like you said, a guy who can go up and get it, who can contest those 50-50 balls. You lost that with Hopkins leaving. And you don't have that on the team. And everybody's, saying, we're so versatile on the receivers. We have a bunch of the same guy right now. Shorter, speedier guys. That's really what you have across the board on the Texans. A lot of fast guys, but they're not very big. Not guys that I say are like I say, a 50-50 ball is a 50-50 ball. When it was Hopkins, it was like 97-3. It's more like he's coming up with it. And if he's not coming down with it, then, it was either a very bad pass or, it's not going to be an interception. Hopkins not letting that go like that. So, and again, so I find the Mims kid very interesting. That's the name I know a lot of people said. But a lot of people didn't think that he would fall as far as he did. And so it'll be very interesting with the 40th pick what the Texans do. But like I kind of referenced, but with all these other additions that they made, do you feel like Billy O is satisfied at the wide receiver position with what he has right now going into the season? Or do you think that he probably needs to bolster that in his own mind?
If you're talking to me about what I would do, then that's a different conversation. But if you're talking to me about what I think Billy O is going to do, I can tell you that right now. He's happy with the wide receivers that he got. He's happy with them. He's not gonna bolster any more wide receivers and everything. But me personally, he never answered or addressed the fact that a couple of things that I'm going to bring up here is that you have Will Fuller, you have some of Randall Cobb, you've got, of course, David Johnson, and you've got Brandon Cooks, who are all very injury and concussion prone. So what happens? Tell me, what happens in the second week? You have all the receivers out there. You want to play fast, and every single one of your receivers go down with some type of injury. And mind you, the only person you have is Kenny Stills, who, mind you now, he has shown the most likeness to Nuke that is on the team currently, that is not named Nuke Hopkins. All right, but yet he's also had a hamstring issue in the past. But I will say he's been more healthy than the current roster we have now, pretty much any of them.
I would definitely agree with that. And I like Steals. And I know there were rumors floating about, that Steals could possibly get traded. We've heard things about B-Mac and all these other things. But I agree. Because even, like I said, that was the one thing, too, about Hopkins was that he was always there. He didn't miss game. No matter if he did have a serious injury, he still played. He played through injuries.
He played with a bruised rib. What more heart and what more talent do you want from a player?
Exactly. And that's why I say, that's why it's hard for me to believe anything Bill O'Brien says, any of his so-called philosophies or his standards for players. Because my thing is, and people get tired of me saying I really don't give a shit, because the guy was the epitome of everything that you could ask for in a player. Because you talk about receivers on that caliber, there's guys who are not even on that level, very diva-like mentalities. You never got that from Hopkins. You have guys who have off-the-field troubles. You never got that from Hopkins. You got guys who just are problems in the locker room. You never got that from Hopkins. But what I think is that he was intimidated. Hopkins was kind of his own man, a leader in that locker room, well respected. And then I think that he feared that because, Hopkins came out and said they didn't have a relationship, and that's fine, I guess. I think that's more on the coach to try to establish that relationship than it is the player. And Bill O'Brien seems like a guy, he wants people to come and kind of kiss his ass, even though he hasn't really deserved it. That's what I get from him. And I don't think Hop was that kind of guy. And so because of that, I think he was intimidated, and that's probably another reason why he had to find an excuse to let it go. But yeah, I just feel like you have a lot of guys who are injury prone, who have had an injury history, and people say, oh, well, Cooks, those were mild. A concussion is a fucking concussion. Like to downplay that would be ignorant.
Let's speak on that a minute. Let's speak on the Brandon Cooks thing a minute, all right? Mm-hmm. To untrained eye, and what your analyst is going to show you is that yes, he's only missed 2 games. Okay, he's only missed 2 games, which that don't seem all that bad. But one person that subscribes to you that is also a member of your channel is that me and him we talk a lot. His name is RioTag00 or 000, and he has mentioned to me multiple times, and I'm giving him all the credit because he's mentioned it to me multiple times. Yes, he started a lot of games, but how many games did he finish?
Correct.
He's been taken out of at least 7 games that I can recall.
See, that's the thing, and that's what I say. That's the thing, how much can you contribute? And we've seen that issue with Fuller too. There's a few games that we can say, and Fuller's missed a significant amount, but at the same time too, there's been plenty of games where Fuller goes out in the first quarter, has a shoulder injury or hamstring injury, and again some lingering thing. And this is not a knock on Fuller because I like him. I want him to be successful, but from Cooks to Fuller, like you mentioned, guys that have had issues. Cobb, a little bit older guy. I'm neither really here nor there on Cobb. It's not that I don't hate the pickup. I don't like it. It's just kind of whatever. But like I say, and that's my issue is you got some guys who could be deemed particularly, I won't call them frail, but because Cook is a gamer, he's going to get out there, he's going to play hard, and I think that's part of his problem. He's a lighter guy, but he plays a little bit bigger than what he is, and so that puts him in those situations to where he's going to take on those injuries. So that's not I don't want to say it's a knock on him, but the likeliness is there. And once you get a few concussions, the likelihood of you getting another one is multiplied. And so that's kind of my concern with that. And then again, like I say, Fuller, we've yet to see Fuller play a whole season. So there's going to be a point where Fuller's going to miss games. And if you have 2 of these guys, out at any given time, any 2 of them, you can pick pick whatever 2 or more out. You're in big trouble, And so I think that kind of going all in, one on the same type of guy, going all in on guys who have shown that they can't really give you that complete season that you need. That's one of my biggest concerns with a lot of the moves that were made after Hopkins. I don't think you truly replace it. So I think getting younger in the draft and maybe picking up a guy that way you're not paying him a lot of money. You have him for the next few years to see what you have, as opposed to some of these veterans who are kind of damaged goods a little bit. That's kind of where I would have went with it. But kind of want to get your thoughts on something, real quick, as far as, the name is Tiger Texans Roughnecks Superfan. So what are your thoughts on what happened with the XFL and the Roughnecks this year?
Man, it was unfortunate, man, because they were rolling. I mean, rolling. What other football team have you seen that played that kind of offense and just let the ball sling? The only team that I can remember right now that let the ball sling like that was two teams that I got, but they're not XFL teams. And I'm talking about, you got Kansas City Chiefs, and you've got granted Tampa Bay Buccaneers with Jameis Winston. Now, he threw a lot of interceptions, but that joker would throw the ball and he wouldn't care. All right, and that's what you had with the June Jones offense. You had the shoot and throw, offense. And let me get your opinion here. How would you feel? Now, I know this won't happen, but just curious, how would you feel if you had June Jones as your head coach of the Texans?
Real interesting question, because the last collegiate game I played was against Hawaii, 2003. Their head coach at the time was June Jones. We lost that game, so I still got a little bitterness for June Jones in my heart. No, but seriously, I'd love to see something like that in Houston. I think with the guys that you have playing receiver, I think you could pull it off. But again, like I said, I just don't. Right now, with Billy O having this death grip on this organization, that I honestly see the dude being here for the next 2 or 3 years. But I would love to see something a bit more exciting. You get tired of the run up the middle on first down every drive. It's to the point where Bill O'Brien has become so predictable, like he hinders the rest of the team. And I mean, guys know it. I mean, I think he led the league in running on first down, if I'm not mistaken. Might have been 2 years in a row. But it's just that kind of predictability hinders you. So, okay, well, we know what the likelihood is this guy is going to run. We'll risk it. And then, so when you're starting on second and long, third and long, again, you're putting Watson in a bad spot. Then everybody blames Watson. Oh, he's holding the ball too long, or he's doing this. Well, he's trying to make a play because he knows that his previous play caller, we'll see what Tim Kelly does, was inept at his job. So I really feel like Bill O'Brien is hindering Watson, but right now they're going to be tied at the hip. So as Watson goes, Billy O goes, and I kind of hate it, but it is what it is right now. I mean, there's nothing that can really be done about it. But I wouldn't be opposed to seeing the June Jones offense in Houston. I think it would actually be very exciting.
Here, I'm gonna say something to your point you brought up that about Watson, where he likes to wait and make a play. Okay, all right. For those of you, and Honcho, you've said this multiple times when we got him. You've said it multiple times last year. You've said it. I can't tell you how many times. Okay, all right. He is a thrower. He likes to run a little bit, but he's a thrower. Okay, but if you're gonna want to see Deshaun Watson throw the deep ball and just tear up the field, okay, all right, it's a double-edged sword. Okay, you're gonna have those sacks, and you're gonna have those times where he doesn't get the ball out in time. Okay, you can't have your cake and eat it too. Okay, either you like what he's doing, and just hope that he gets it out on time, or follow a different quarterback. I mean, and that's just what he does. That's just what it's in his mold. Yes, he's getting better at recognizing when the pressure gets onto him, of escaping the pocket a little bit better, in NFL quality atmosphere and stuff. But it's a double-edged sword. You can't have both.
And that's part of the problem. Because again, those miraculous plays that you see are formed from him making the same decisions that he makes when some of those bad things happen. So again, it's just kind of you take the good with the bad. And I mean, if you're a Watson fan, you have to accept it. And I know I'm damn sure a Watson fan. Okay, and then lastly, I want to get into, because this is something I've seen a lot of people say, And I get it, and I kind of agree with it, but I don't know if it should be so. And when it comes to talking about Watson, everybody says, well, doesn't matter if Hopkins is gone, doesn't matter if whoever else is gone. You have Deshaun Watson, he can pull it off, he's the man. And I respect that, and I believe that. But at the same time, should he have to carry that much of a burden? I mean, you should have something else going on, helping take some of this pressure off his shoulders. And I don't think that, me and my personal opinion, I don't think that Bill O'Brien is doing that. Y'all call me anti-Bill or whatever you want to. It was a middle-of-the-pack offense last year. That you can't deny that. Those are statistics. Like, what are your personal thoughts on that? Like, do you think that, you know, he's been doing this for a long time, so it's not necessarily a burden to him as we see it? Because, like I said, you followed him, you know, since he got to Clemson. Or do you think that there should be something done to kind of alleviate a lot of the stress that's on Watson, or a lot of the pressure that's on Watson?
He shouldn't be having to get the best way I could put it is that you take away something that he meshed so well with, that he became so much best friends with, that, okay, there was a video of him at a Chinese restaurant with him and Nuke, that he basically tossed a piece of sushi, and Nuke caught it with chopsticks on the other side. You know, you can't draft that talent. You can't buy that talent. You can only get that talent by earning it with your wide receiver, and Watson had that connection with Nuke. Regardless if it was a Clemson connection or regardless if it was just a mutual friendship connection, he had that connection with Nuke Hopkins. And by trading him away, all right, you stress Watson out, because now he has to relearn a bunch of different receivers. Okay, yes, he has Will Fuller, but can he really rely on Will Fuller? Because when he starts to use Will Fuller as his crutch, he gets hurt and he's out for a month. Okay, all right. He break a nail, he's out for a month. Okay, so who's he gonna rely on? Like, you know what? You gonna rely on Randall Cobb to get you some short throws? You gonna rely on David Johnson to be the receiving back? Oh, well, he's gonna be injured too. Oh, you're gonna rely on Brandon Cooks? No, he's gonna get a concussion. Okay, you cannot build a rapport with a player who you cannot rely on. And the only player Watson could rely on, and the reason why the connection was so stout as it was, is he could rely on Nuke Hopkins. He could rely on him all the time. When there was no play, or play was going down the tube, Nuke had the connection just by like looking at Watson and getting a nod from Watson. He knew exactly where he needed to be for Watson to get him the ball. Okay, you can't draft that. You can't buy it. You only can have that connection. I mean, it's an indescribable connection that you're going to put yourself back now 8 years, because now Watson has to redo that whole connection that he built with Nuke Hopkins, now with a new receiver, and you just aren't going to be able to do it in 1 year. You're just not.
Absolutely agree with that, and it's something I've said, that, you know, you look at teams around the league. The majority of teams are a bunch of guys who just play football together. I mean, that's just it. But these guys were friends on and off the field. The chemistry, the leadership, especially of Watson, combined with the leadership of Hopkins. You see how guys gravitated around him. You see that even Hopkins comes back, and guys from the Texans are still working out with him. You know, you still see Will Fuller still working out with him. To me, that has to say something about this guy's character, that, you know, that people are still rocking with him, even though, you know, he's gone. You know, it's not like, oh, well, you're no longer a part of this team, or he's not ostracized. You know, you can't say the same for some of these other guys that are out there, that some of the guys that aren't in the league that people, you know, claim used to be the best or whatever. But, you know, it is what it is, and I agree that, you know, rapport is the one thing that you can't buy. You don't see very many teams where the quarterback and the number one receiver have that relationship on and off the field. You see it on the field. There's a couple of guys who got it, but they're not hanging out off the field. They're not, spending that time building that chemistry. So I absolutely agree with you on that. That was probably the biggest impact of everything. But here's the deal, Mr. Texas Tiger Superfan. I appreciate you coming. We're going to get ready to wind down. I know you've been on the road. Anything you want to say before we get ready to wrap this up?
Yes, in no relation to football or whatsoever, but in relation to what's going on right now, and we're starting to see things open up and everything. But I want you to remember something, okay? Like, with all the supplies that the hospitals are getting, with all the food that is at the grocery store, with all the gas that is at the gas pumps, everything that you have, whether it's clothing on your back, food at your on your plate, you would not have it without us truckers. And here we are out on the front lines making sure that the world keeps moving, even in the deadliest of viruses that is this right now. Okay, if you don't have truckers moving, you should be very worried. And so please, if you haven't already, I've made a video about it. Please, if you do go out, be safe, but tell a trucker you appreciate what they do, because you wouldn't have anything without us. And no matter what epidemic happens here, we never stop rolling.
All right, well, Mr. Tigers, Texans, Roughnecks Superfan, well, I appreciate you for doing what you do. And Professor Trill, if you watch this video, I don't appreciate you. I hate you. I hate everything you believe in. And, I hope when you go back to Port Neches that somebody stole all your 3-ply toilet tissue. But but on that note, man, and on a good note, because sometimes talking about Texas can make you frustrated, man. Mr. Tiger, Texas Superfan, I'm glad that you could join again. Like I say, the link to the channel will be in the description below in the first couple of lines, so make sure you check that out. Shout out to everybody in Sauce Nation. We appreciate y'all coming through. Y'all are the freshest ingredients in the world. Most of all, y'all stay saucy. Be cool like y'all be cool. And again, shout out to Tiger Texas Superfan, Roughneck Superfan, and we're out.
Perfect.